Michael Mann is one of my favourite filmmakers. His films are mature, intelligent, engrossing, and feature captivating characters. Manhunter, Thief, The Last of the Mohicans, The Insider, and of course what is often considered his magnum opus, his sprawling epic urban crime drama Heat, starring Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Though I thought Collateral was great, it was when Mann started messing around with high-def digital cameras that I thought the quality in his filmmaking started to drop. Not that it's because he switched to digital, but for sure his filmography after Collateral wasn't as interesting. Movies like Miami Vice and Public Enemy sound great on paper, but they leave a lot to be desired. Almost 80 years old, Mann is currently filming a new movie about Enzo Ferrari, starring Adam Driver. As I mentioned in a previous video, Mann got everyone excited when he started talking about the fact that a sequel to his crime classic Heat was coming out this year, and then it turned out it was just a book, not a movie. I actually bought it, and this is my copy here. I'll give it a read and I will let you know what I think of it. It's pretty chunky, though this is a large print edition and the words are huge, so the book probably isn't that long. Heat 2 is both a sequel and a prequel to Heat, and apparently it tells the story of Chris after the events of the film, and also the lives of the likes of Hannah and Neil before the movie. I would be categorically against anyone making a prequel or sequel of Heat, even Mann himself, but a book? I wouldn't start sharpening my pitchfork over a book sequel. Something about the fact that it's a different medium, one which is tailor-made to further explore all the great characters in Heat, makes me intrigued, if anything. Though it was a bit weird how there is a sequel you can read, where you are reintroduced to a whole bunch of characters who were never introduced in book form. Instead you have to see the movie, and then you have to imagine it's the likes of Pacino and De Niro in the book as you're reading. But anyway people, it appears Heat 2 might not just remain a book for long, because Michael Mann has revealed that he fully sees Heat's sequel as a film. It's totally planned to be a movie, he said in an interview with Empire. Is it a modest movie? No. Is it a very expensive series? No. It's going to be one large movie. So it appears he has a grand epic film in mind as a sequel. And in terms of the likes of Pacino, De Niro and Val Kilmer, Mann said, "I love those guys, but they'd have to be 6 years younger than they were in Heat." He went on to talk about the 1995 picture, saying, "It's sustained in culture, it's known. I could delude myself into thinking that the whole world is familiar with it, but when you check out its prominence in home vid for over 20 years, this thing really has legs. People are still watching it, people are still talking about it. It's a brand, it's kind of a Heat universe in a way. And that certainly justifies a very large, ambitious movie. The ability to which you can deep dive into the internal world is fascinating, and you can do that best in a novel. I try to evoke that experience in the films I make, to locate the audience within the internal world of a character. The novel form allows me an even greater arena." In another interview, he again confirmed Heat 2 is being made into a film, replying to a question about whether the film was in the works by saying, "Yes, I can't talk about it, but yes, this is a book, but it's also going to be a very large movie." Mann has also said, "There was always a rich history or backstory about the events in these people's lives before 1995 in Heat, and projection of where their lives would take them after. When I was writing the film, it was imperative for me to create complete life stories about all the characters and to know everything about them, including Neil McCauley's early institutionalized years when he lost track of his brother, before he parachuted into the streets young, angry and dangerous. And the novel shows a Macaulay very much attached, and the dramatic events that resulted in his ditchum that, if you're making moves on the street, have no attachments, allow nothing to be in your life that you cannot walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you spot the Heat around the corner." So, if you want my opinion, again, I've got Heat 2, I like reading books, I plan on reading it after I'm done with what I'm currently reading, and yes, the characters in Heat are so fully realised, and I've no doubt that in order to achieve that, Mann gave all the characters backstories, which he's now shared with us in book format. However, Heat 2 as a movie just has alarm bells ringing for me all over it. There's so many reasons why it could fail. For one, Mann is nowhere near the filmmaker he was in the 90s. And then there's the issue of casting. Do we really want to see young Pacino and De Niro imitators running around? The time to make a Heat 2 was in the early 2000s, you'd think. Heat is a perfect movie, so why not leave as is? If you've got ideas, making a sequel novel is a great thing to do, but a movie, you're just asking for trouble. Why not make a new crime film? What's with this obsession these days of movie universes? If Collateral was made today, would Mann make Tom Cruise's character Neil McCauley, or Neil McCauley's brother, and advertise it as a sequel? Because come on, there are so many examples of filmmakers going back to things that made them famous and making a mess of it. George Lucas and Star Wars, Francis Ford Coppola and The Godfather 3, Peter Jackson and The Hobbit, Larry Wachowski and The Matrix Resurrections, Ridley Scott and his new Alien movies. Even since we're on the topic of books, J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and the screenplays for these new Fantastic Beasts movies, which have been getting really poor ratings. Let it go, man, just let it go. Just make a new crime movie. A Michael Mann crime film is always a mouth-watering prospect, but why risk a tired, 30-year-old sequel tainting a stone-cold classic? Wasn't Mann going to adapt The Winter of Frankie Machine at one point? Why not just do that? I will say one thing in defense of the movie though, if it ever happens. This is not an aged, has-been director trying to cling on to his former success, I don't think. And it's not a cash grab, because Mann has talked about a lot knowing the intricate details of his characters' lives from Heat. The vision is there in his head. In fact, Heat 2 is part of a 3-book deal he has. So whether it is good or not, this guy knows what he wants from Heat 2. So what do you think of Heat 2? Good idea? Bad idea? Who would you want to be cast in the film? Let me know in the comments below. And before we finish, I just want to thank my patrons, Andre Millington, Nicholas Curtis and Dirk K. And also my channel members, the new Ongoram24, Rikers and Michael Awatswi. Thanks for watching.